What is an overbulk? In my belief, it's basically anything at a regular bulk that people prescribe or over. So around a 500 calorie surplus or above. And you can also say that it's 1 pound of body weight per week, because sometimes it can be more calories than 500 calories if you want to gain 1 pound per week. Because when you increase your caloric intake, your body will compensate for that amount of calories, and it'll depend on like how your body compensates. For example, some people who have fast metabolisms may compensate through more like active activities, so like they may just move more in general. They may do more exercise, or they may just fidget more, so much so that the 500 calorie surplus is just nullified completely, and which is unfortunate for some people, but they just need to eat more. So really the basis I'm talking about is gaining 1 pound of body weight per week. And so I prescribe this as overbulking, and therefore you shouldn't do this because it's too fast. 1 pound of body weight per week is not going to be majorly muscle. Probably like 90% of that is going to be fat. Maybe 10% of that is going to be muscle. Because the thing is, you don't turn calories into muscles. Muscles are not built off of calories. Calories are used as like a proxy to build the muscle. They're used in the process of building, but they're not they're not the building blocks of muscle. Rather, protein or amino acids are. And then after you bulk up with this caloric surplus, you then need to cut down. And personally, as someone who has cut way more than he has bulked, cutting is not exactly a very fun experience. At least in my personal experience, bulking is a lot more fun. Of course, that is because I can eat way more. Some people may say that cutting is way easier than bulking. And thirdly, there is the entire strength argument of how I'm gaining muscle because I'm gaining strength. But that's not entirely true either. Because when you gain fat, you better your leverages, and you can also get more bounce with your lifts, right? You have more cushion, and therefore it helps you with your lifts. So in reality, you might not have actually gotten stronger at all, in terms of muscular strength, but rather that you are more conditioned to be better at the lift. And a lot of the times you see this progress and then you eat even more because you use strength as a proxy for muscular gain. But this is not true. At the end of the bulk, you then cut, and then you cut all the way back down to your previous body fat percentage, and then you end up with almost the same lifts entirely. So you really didn't gain any muscle or any strength. And too many people go through this process because they think that this will get me strength, this will get me muscle, but it doesn't work that way, or it doesn't work nearly as well as people think. So what I propose is a lean bulk, a much smaller caloric surplus than 1 pound of body weight per week. Instead, I would say that 0.25 pounds of body weight per week is the best. So around 1 pound of body weight per month, essentially. And some people may say that, why not do 0.5 pounds? Isn't that small as well? But even 0.5 pounds is still pretty fast. It amounts to roughly a 250 calorie surplus, right? Just half of 500. But even then, your body is not going to be able to use all 250 calories to build muscle. Maybe a maximum of 100 calories will be used to build muscle. Otherwise, everything else is going towards fat. So if you take that into account, say maximum 100 calories, why not just do 125 calories surplus, right? You have an extra 25 calories of buffer, you gain a lot less fat, and you can still gain around the same amount of muscle. And so the point of a lean bulk is really to just be on it year round. So yearly you will gain around 12 to 13 pounds, and it will be mostly muscle. And these will be the best gains that you will ever get. For one, because these are real gains. You can really see that you are getting stronger and stronger over the weeks, over the months, because you aren't really gaining too much fat. So you aren't really bettering your leverages. You know that when you get stronger, you have developed muscle. There's a scenario where only if you're at like a severely high body fat percentage, then your insulin responsiveness will decrease, and because of that, your body as a whole will be less anabolic in general. So you will be less prone to build muscle. But that really is like a special case, and you need to be bulked up. You need to be not fluffy, but just pure fat. And so with a lean bulk, because you don't gain nearly as much fat, you don't need to cut nearly as much as a regular bulk. And perhaps you might not even need to cut whatsoever. And that's great. In my opinion, of course. But keep in mind that you will still gain some amount of fat. Like, if you're in a calorie surplus, you will gain some amount of fat. It's quite inevitable. And tying into this, you won't nearly be as fatigued as someone who is going on a bulk and cut cycle. Like, bulking and then cutting, it strains you mentally. The constant bulks and cuts, the constant changes will wear you down much more than just a small, steady increase of calories each and every day. And because of a smaller calorie surplus, you can stay aesthetic if you start at a low body fat percentage all throughout. And personally, I like being aesthetic, so I will take that. Do not tell me that if you could gain muscle and still be aesthetic, you would not take that deal, because you would. And it's great. But the thing is, with lean bulks, these are very slow. Right? At a minimum, they are 1 year. It's very slow. And you need to go very slow, or you will just be doing a regular bulk instead. And then you'll also need to cut down. With a lean bulk, as I've said, you don't really need to cut, perhaps, and it's just steady. But the most important thing is to be patient. You need to just wait it out. You just keep going for a year, 2 years, whatever. It's going to be long. And I think the story, The Tortoise and the Hare, really outlines this. Right? Be the tortoise who eventually wins the race. Don't be the hare who sprints and then falls asleep and then still loses the race. Now, of course, with bulking and cutting, it's not exactly the same as just a lean bulk. You're not going to lose, right? If you bulk and cut. You'll gain probably around the same amount of muscle, but with the bulk and cut, there's much more fluctuations, and you need to mentally be able to do it. Unlike a lean bulk where it's very simple, you just need to stick to it. And it's very boring as well, but it will benefit you in the long run.